I was a computer person, and I was trying to figure out how to make everything work perfect. And if you work with computers, it isn't long before you realize that man can never make anything work perfect. And that drew me close to Christ. So yes, we are having technical issues up here. We are going to show the video first. We're actually going to have to jerry-rig it and bring the sound down here. But Jerry is my middle name, so we'll rig it.
School education using classic, time-tested methods implemented with 21st century technology. Most recently, TEN3 has been partnering with Tanzanian educators, Life Support for Change, and Trinity pre- and primary schools to promote godly use of technology skills for primary schools. Together, TEN3, LSC, and Trinity are equipping the next generation of Christian leaders with the tools for their spiritual and educational development.
It says in the scripture that the Lord has plans for us. It was amazing in this trip to see how these plans are individual and organization. Each organization had something on their heart, and God put us all together in ways that we didn't even know each other's plans. And He's doing something greater than we could have done separately.
To learn more about this project and TEN3's work, visit ten3.org.
Okay. Jared's going to kind of share first, but he's got to get his software running, and it's giving him trouble. So I'm going to do a reboot, see if we can get it working. And meanwhile, there, now I can see you.
I have the
Wake up, Jim.
tablet too, and it has the app on it. So if that doesn't work, I could pass it around, I guess.
Okay. So I expected actually quite a different group. This is an interesting mixed group. Mr. Keith has forced all the Academy kids to be here. So welcome Academy kids. And then I expected more of the other half of you. Wanting to kind of have an update on what God's been doing in TEN3, because you've been part of what we've been doing, some of you, 40 years. So, you know what? Students love this. I have bifocals. So now I can see my paper. Let's see. I can also see you. How do you take a guy like this seriously, right? I'm going to start with the most recent thing I'm going to start actually with the most recent thing of God weaving things together. Then I'm going to go back to the trip in November and December of Tanzania. And this is my big brother. And he went to be with the Lord last week. And it was interesting. This is my message that I gave at my brother's service. Not too often do brothers do their brother's services, but for some freaky reason, God has had me do my mom's, my dad's, my sister's, and now my brother's. This one actually was the hardest one to do because typically men, we don't have a lot of close friends. So when my brother went to heaven, my close friend list dropped down 50%. So anybody that knows a little bit of math realizes I only have 2 close friends, and now one's in heaven. Besides my own sons and my wife. But men, we tend to have few. But my brother took care of me because there's the message. Those are the last 2, and talk about technology. These are the last 2 words he sent to me, and he sent them as a text. He was writing, my brother and my other brother were discussing something, and he shared these things, and just watching God weave this man's life. I never saw anybody fight with God more than my brother did. Okay. But the last 2 things he said is, because we were talking about my oldest brother who doesn't know the Lord, and used to be really tough on this guy. He's number 2. And we must pray for those who are born once and die twice. Hopefully, through our prayer, they will become one who is born twice and die once. And it was interesting to watch God work in my brother's life. In fact, he was the one always in trouble. That's probably because he was the smartest of any of us. And he fought a lot with God, but once he committed to something, he was committed. So the day before he died, he was feeding people in the soup kitchens in Buffalo. Exactly the kind of things God tells us to do. And so I watch God weave and weave our lives. And in that moment, if you heard that moment that I spoke about, I chose to become a missionary for a pretty silly reason. I was thinking as an MBA, and you invest your life and you save it up in heaven. 40 years later, all right, my thoughts weren't right. God is okay with working with our errors, because if he wasn't, nothing would happen, because we're always screwing up. But I stand here, one of the richest men in the world. And I wouldn't trade my life with anybody, particularly not any of the famous people or the super rich people. Oh, what a sucky life they have. Me, I'm rich. So I've been watching this weaving of God for years and years and years, and we're just going to drop back just a little bit and watch some interesting thing with this Tanzania trip. We started TEN3, our focus was on tertiary level education, college level education. About 10, 15 years ago, he started waking us up to the fact that we needed to be shifting to primary school education. The future, there's a lot that goes with that, but for TEN3 it was becoming clearer and clearer. Start switching your focus. So we began a process of starting to switch our focus. First of all, we had to figure out, well, how are you going to move into primary school? You know, and if you look at any educational program, there's tons and tons of stuff you have to do to do a primary school. And so me, not being a very conventional person anyways, I said, well, you know, you got copyrights, you got to switch to culture, you got this, you got that, you got all these problems. Let's not bother with those. Let's go back 150 years ago when there was a very powerful education that basically set the foundation for this nation. Well, and let's just use it. And quite frankly, the process we're going, most educators would look askance at and say, what? You know, we've learned so much, we know so much now and stuff. I was like, I don't think I'll settle for that, since the farmers in the 1800s could outthink the lawyers that were trying to push certain things down their throats. I said, it was probably a pretty good education. So we started looking at it, working at it, and actually one of the people that helped us start moving that material into an electronic position is Dr. Dick Wing. And he did a lot of work, which most people would think would be kind of mundane, but he just cranked through it and helped us to get these books in a position that they could be used. The interesting thing is, once we have them electronic, we can culturize them. And when I say we're an international team. So we have work in Tanzania, we have work in Zambia, and we have powerful work going on in Nigeria. I mean, by powerful, lots of things happening there in Nigeria. And so once you got a base, most people work better from starting with something than starting from scratch. And then they can adjust it and fix it and make it culturally relevant. So probably, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, we worked hard on developing a Bible study that used the chronological method so that people would know the whole story. It's critical that people know the whole story of the Bible, otherwise the brain fills in pieces and you get messed up. And so we built that. And the Nigerians have been working and adjusting and making it stronger and stronger, and they just this year they made it audio. And it's being used way beyond the college that we expected it for. It's being used in Sunday schools, and it's being requested all over the place. So if you teach people how to fish, they're going to fish. And if you give them a foundation, they're going to take that foundation and improve it. And one of the biggest ways I saw that early on was I was teaching computer science in the early 1990s. There was almost no computer training where we were. And I wrote books, and I did the training, but then they took those and they improved. And I remember sitting there one day listening to one of the teachers teaching, and I thought, wow, she is so much better than me. And she's doing such a great job. And then when it comes to testing, ask my students, I stink at testing. I get afraid of testing. They don't want me to test them because my tests are always so poor. They made it a testing system that was amazing. So the Lord started moving us towards this primary school program, and we started working on making this material. But if you have the material, you got to get there. You got to train people. And I have been, in the United States, I've been losing more and more people. So at one time, we were 12 strong in the U.S. And we were doing a lot of work, and we were having some really cool workshops and going out and training. Sometimes we'd have 90 pastors sitting there. This one in November that I mentioned, there was 2,000 pastors trained. I don't mean 90 pastors, 90 principals. So we'd have principals from 90 different schools, and we'd be doing all kinds of stuff. But as time has gone, the team here has been going smaller and smaller. The Lord's been taking them home, retiring. Some of them have gone back to the field because they were here for family reasons. And so right now, TEN3 on the U.S. side is barely surviving administratively. We're still functioning on the other side, but we're also barely moving forward. But that's okay, because on the African side, we're growing, and that's always what it's always been about. And in fact, we're an interesting ministry because we were started in Africa, so we're kind of out of Africa, and we were moved here to move an administrative base for a while, and now there's a strong leadership that can now take over the leadership. So I hope within a few months I will no longer be CEO or president of TEN3. Mrs. Christy DeSarlo should be. And the biggest problem we're having is just getting enough people pulled together to make the next transition. So how do you start a primary program? So let's drop back to last spring. Last spring the Lord says, okay, it's time to start the primary program. I'm like, God, I don't have anybody. I mean, they're all doing great work out there, but we need somebody that's going to be the champion of this and take the different things that you've built over the last 8-10 years, the help of Dr. Wing and so forth, and move it. I don't have anybody, Lord. But I knew he was telling me to do it, so I just announced, we're going to do this. Okay. And then the Lord put on this young man's heart to work with me for a year. And guess what? He was the champion. And if he gets his program running, that'll be good. Otherwise, he'll show you some of the other things. But we moved into Africa with that primary program, and they absolutely love it. And they're going to change it, and it's going to get better. And eventually from Tanzania, the Nigerians are going to jump in and the Zambians. And that's the beauty of watching God work, is these different countries working together. Okay? Because quite frankly, do we have any Nigerians in here? Is Angela here? No. Quite frankly, all the other African countries don't trust Africa. I mean, trust Nigeria. In fact, all the world doesn't trust Nigeria, if you know anything. And they're amazing at getting things done, sometimes not the right way. And so, but when they put their focus and put their hands into God, they're powerful. And so now to see the Africans start trusting each other and building things together, it's really the body of Christ type stuff. So, hey.
So something's wrong with the app,
Here's
but
you take over now.
Yeah, there's something wrong with the app. I can't run it on my computer. I do have it on the tablet here, so I might be able to show you a little bit up here, or I could pass it around so you could see and kind of like test it out yourself. But this is an app that I just recently developed for the students in Tanzania, for them to practice their like math skills and stuff like that. Sort of like a flashcard app. You'll see it if I can pass it around, but yeah, I will. I'll get to that later. Okay, so all right. Okay. So there's a lot of things I could talk about, and it would take too long to cover. So I'm just going to try to focus on what I did with the students and my experience in the actual classroom there. So during my time in Tanzania, I was able to sit down with the teachers in one of their classrooms. And it was a very interesting experience. Their classrooms are very small, and like there's no carpets or anything like that. It's like a cinder block room, and they have a couple tables, wooden tables, and some small chairs. And their teaching style is very different than what I'm used to. In America, we usually, a teacher standing up and, maybe she has something on the board and she tells students to like take notes or something like that. But over there, they kind of yell everything. So it was a very different experience. It's a very loud environment. So like the teacher would be like, okay, students, I want you to repeat to me like this sentence and spell it, but it'd be very loud, and then the students would repeat back to them in the same volume. So it was very different and experience for me, but it was effective, and I actually liked it. But I'll actually show you one of the readers, one of the books they actually used in the classroom that we developed. It's right here. Let's see. So it's called First Reader. Go to lesson one, if you can see. So the teacher would tell the students to spell out the words and read them. And there's a bunch of different lessons, but I got to sit through like, I don't know how many, like 10 of them, and kind of take notes to see what they would like to improve or stuff like that. Yeah, it was a really cool experience to see how they taught and how the students responded to it. And the teachers actually liked the book that we had, and so did the students. They also were really excited to have the tablets there. Over there, technology isn't really implemented into the schools, so it was really cool for them to see tablets being used to educate the students, even if it's just a book on the tablet. It was really cool for them to see that. and I got to present to all the parents of the kids how we were using the program, like teaching them how to read and write and spell and understand what they're reading and stuff like that. So it was just really cool. It was a really cool experience, and yeah, it was amazing. But so that was what I was doing over there, was kind of helping them get started with this reading program that we were doing with this book. But recently, like I said, I was developing an app for them to learn math. So I wish I could have got it up and running so I could show it on the big screen, but it wasn't working. So I might pass around the tablet. I don't know if that'll work, but we'll see. All right, I'll just pass it around.
I just try to throw in a few things on what he's bringing there. To get this on the tablet and set up and everything, it wasn't just something you just, bam, it's done. He spent a lot of work. He had to research the tablets that we might actually be able to get locally there. We tend to use technology in a different way. I mean, we're one of the oldest users of technology in Africa, right? We've got decades of experience. And we tend to be the ones that use the least technology. Now, that kind of sounds crazy, but everything breaks everywhere, and a lot in Africa. And so you want to be able to come up and running again fast when things break. And so you use the technology that you know is going to move easily. So this is just an electronic book. I mean, it's not a Moodle or a fancy course management system or any of that kind of stuff. It's real low, which means that as soon as someone gets a tablet, Jared has made it so they can just come up and running, just like that. Don't need to have a lot of technological experience. They can duplicate, they can clone, they can move forward, we can adjust things because we stay at the lower level. We keep it moving. We spread at that level like water moving instead of trying to do everything, figure everything out and make it all this perfect system. And if you know technology at all, there was a lot of history of people making the complete system, and they never worked. And the system that runs underneath everything that you're using, it makes little pieces that all work, and then they just work together. Never a huge, big, planned-out system. So, but it took a lot of work for Jared to get it to that level, a lot of research to be able to get to the level so that people can just bring these systems up by just getting another tablet. And we look to make sure we had a very low-level tablet so that as they become more and more available, more and more people will have the material used, and the people there will be telling other people, look, this really helps us to read.
And our system that we developed, it doesn't require internet at all, so it can be used basically anywhere where there's some sort of electricity to charge the tablets. And that's kind of how Anthony planned it, was to be used in places that don't have internet or have very limited access to the internet, or as long as you can have a place to charge it, you can use it. And that was really cool. But I think. I mean, obviously, I'm trying to think of what else to say, because I kind of explained all that I wanted to explain, so I don't really have anything else to.
Do you want to show us, and maybe we can have them be the students? this lesson or a different lesson, how they would do it?
Oh yeah, I guess I can explain a little bit of that. Well, I already
Not explain it. Do it.
do it.
Can you do that?
Okay, well they would do something like so for spelling they'd say they would say ISITAN, and they would tell the students to repeat them and say like ITAN, stuff like that, and they would read it and be like, is it an ox, stuff like that, but like really loud, and the students would repeat it like that. What? Oh, okay, all right. So can you guys spell that sentence, please?
Let's start with the reading.
Okay, the reading. Can you guys read that sentence, this one, right here? Yeah, that's basically what they would do. Yeah.
I remember
So.
first seeing it. It was a shock on his face. It's not exactly like that. This is how it would go. Is it an ox?
Yeah.
And then, no, you'd all fail. You got more passion. Is it an ox? Man, you're Americans. No, the kids would passionately sing back, is it an ox? And it would even be a little singy. And this guy's eyes were going like this. Ooh. And I went up to him and said, patience. It's actually very effective. And like you heard him say, he did eventually see, wow, it works. It's not like we're used to, but it works. And it was just fun to watch the kids go forward. So if anything else pops to your mind about your experiences, anything you want to share, how about the lion ripping apart you want to share a little bit about that?
The lion? Yeah. I can share a little bit. Well, I mean, we did see some like wildlife, so like giraffes, elephants, and we got to see a couple lions, and one of them was in the middle of lunch or dinner or something like that. So that was pretty cool. But I guess the last thing I'd like to say is this just popped in my mind. A couple things that God taught me while I was there. I think the main two things He taught me were gratitude and also patience. First, gratitude because obviously I live in America. I've lived here my whole life, and going over to like a village where there's not, it's not a wealthy place, it's just, it made me grateful for the stuff I have here, but not only that, it's also it kind of opened my eyes to like, they're probably better off without all the stuff we have over here, like all the technology and stuff, all the distractions that we have. So honestly, they're probably happy over there than a lot of the people over here who have all the stuff. But he just taught me to be grateful for what I have and not take anything for granted. And then patience, because over there, I don't know if it's a cultural thing or what, but time isn't as big a priority over there as we. In America, we kind of rush things a lot. We have like an appointment here. We be on time. We got to do this, that. We're very rushed and try to be on time and stuff like that. So time is a big priority for us over here, but over there it wasn't really. So it was a little bit frustrating at times when you're trying to like set up a meeting or trying to get this project done or trying to get something, because they wouldn't prioritize. Like they'd say they do it, but then you keep asking them like, okay, are we gonna have a meeting now? And then they'd be like, oh, yeah, well, we'll meet with you then. But then they wouldn't show up for like another hour. And then you have to go get them. And so, it's not that it was a bad thing. It was just a different thing they prioritized. So I would have to learn how to be patient and kind of do things their way. But yeah, that's That's kind of the two things that he taught me. Yes. Yeah.
Charge the tablets.
Over there, they did have outlets, a couple outlets in the rooms that we were in, so we could charge them to the outlets. But I think was it in Nigeria they would have like a booth with like a generator to charge the tablets. So it depends on the situation, but we were fortunate enough to have electricity come into like through outlets and stuff like that. Even if the electricity wasn't on all the time, but when the electricity was on, then we were able to charge the tablets. So yeah, that's that. But yeah, any questions? I guess. Yeah.
Who incurs the cost of the tablets actually to purchase them, and what tablets to use? Is that something your organization does?
You want to answer that or?
Yeah.
Okay.
School system there, or private donors, or they just bring their own device, or
The answer's
how does all that work?
the answer's yes.
Do all of the above?
All the above. The system is designed to grow. Things are changing. I'll keep mixing my glasses up here. So I should get bifocals, but they hurt my eyes, and I don't want to go there. Okay, there's a hunger for technology. The technology's everywhere, so you can be out in the bush and you'll hear a generator running, and it's there for one of two purposes. For the last 40 years or 50 years, it's been there to make sure somebody's Coke's cold. Okay, Coke is universal, and so they got a freezer and they got the Coke in there. And then they also have, you walk up and you're like, people steal things all the time. And yet, at this little kiosk, there's like 50 or 60 phones sitting there getting charged. And nobody's going to touch anybody else's phone. I don't know how that works or what it is, but something's spooky about phones. I don't know. And so they got these generators. So the technology's there. And so the question is, how do you move at the level where they're moving? So our material will work on on a phone, a smartphone. So they're going to be bringing in some of the stuff. Well, initially we raised, I don't know how many thousands of dollars, and we bought these ones and brought them over. Just basically, what do you call it? Catalyst. As a catalyst. And already there's 2 different schools using them, and they'll figure out more and more. Hey, we can get a phone, we'll get this, we'll get that, and we can use these materials. Good question. Other questions? Anything else? If anything pops to your head, just stand up.
Yeah. Nothing's popping in my head right now. So.
It was, you know what? So, by God's grace, I finally learned what Jared was talking about. Time is just used differently. But it's not that it's not important to them. It's just the way you prioritize things. So when we first started teaching computers in Africa, the students would be there early. And in fact, if the next class ran over 1 minute, other students would kick them out, because the priority was to get some time on those machines. Okay, the machines are more available now, so it changes stuff. Well, let's go back to the weaving that we saw with this trip. This guy was a miracle answer for us. And he's not done yet, and this app and the math thing he's doing, that's a whole new thing. If you look at that app, it's pretty cool. It's really easy. They can easily get it working on their systems. And it's just practicing adding, subtracting, and multiplying. And it dovetails with a curriculum that we use that works more with mental math versus the learning of the process. And so research has shown that the stronger a student is in mental math, then the process becomes a piece of cake. When you bring the process too soon, it makes it harder. So Jared's app works on mental math, a lot of mental math. So here's another interesting one, watching God weave. And what I'd really like to encourage you with in this Sunday school class is that Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. It's real stuff. God's word is where if you want a foundation, you go to God's word. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. And in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will guide your path. Okay? I tried real hard to guide my own path. Okay? So when we had success with that first college, my MBA just kicked in. I was like, man, why not 300 of these colleges? We just came up. We've got the system. We've got the model. I wrote it all out. It's just a piece of cake. Let's just cookie cutter these babies out. That isn't how God works. And so the first school, it's amazing. We've had quite a few failures. We had a school going in Senegal that closed. God doesn't work cookie cutters. Organizational things happen, but those are just kind of probably because we're troublemakers. You say, okay, go that way. Most of it happens the way Jesus did it. And it all happens through relationships. It all happens through relationships. Between people and with God. And so I've given up trying to figure out all the plans. I just watch God work. So Jared and I are going to go to Africa. We got these. We kicked right in and started working on these books. We're going to go out there. We're going to train. And of course, where are we going to go to train? Nigeria. That's our biggest field. I mean, there's hundreds of schools we could work with. So let's get going, Jared. We're going to go there, And the Nigerian director's like, yeah, come. We're ready. You'll be talking to hundreds of people. We got this going. And then, this guy's family starts kicking in with prayer. And starts looking like, well, maybe he shouldn't go. And it's like, okay, so I'm going to go anyways. I'm not stopping. I'm going. So I just kept pushing forward to Jared, we'll figure out something for you, but I'm going to go. You got the stuff ready, I'm going. So get ready, start spending money to apply for the visas, This is all in the middle of COVID, okay? And so everything's kind of crazy. And I can't get a visa. The door's closed on me. I'm like, okay, door's closed. Now what? Zambia is English, but they really didn't have anything going at the level we needed at the primary school level. And so I'm stuck. And my wife, the artist, says to me, what about Tanzania? And my reaction is going to be like, dear, primary school in Tanzania is done in Swahili. I mean, everything's in English here. And then I stopped and I thought, wait a minute. This woman that has been nagging us for years, Life Support for Change, she does an after-school program in English. And it's multiple grades. I've always wanted to work with a one-room schoolhouse versus the grade system. I won't go into there, but the grade system has some serious weaknesses. And so I thought, wow, I got all excited. And then I get our Tanzania director, his name's Tukiko. He says, we're starting a primary school. Oh, cool. It's in English. I'm like, okay, Jared, we're going to Tanzania. So that's how we got into Tanzania through my wife. But here's what blew my mind also. So my wife says, I want to go. I'm like, what? She doesn't usually go with me because she's not into the education side. She's an artist. She prays a lot. She's an amazing woman, but she doesn't, want to get up and teach people. I said, okay. And maybe it was because we were going for 5 weeks. I don't know. But then my son says, he's 28 years old. He's a bike mechanic. He's teaching skiing right now. He says, I want to go. I'm like, what? I want to go. I'm like, I wasn't getting any no's from God, so I said, okay. So then he goes, oh, I want my friend David to go. David and he rode across the country on their bikes. I'm like, okay. Here we go. This big team, a lot bigger than I thought, off to Tanzania. Meanwhile, the Lord put on my son's heart, he goes, I have these skills. I can help these people. They use bikes all the time. I can train some people how to really fix the bikes right, da-da-da-da-da-da. His boss finds out about it. His boss tells one of the large, really expensive companies about it. And the next thing you know, this company sends my son thousands of dollars worth of equipment. Here, that's for your Tanzania trip. Somebody else says, hey, you probably need something else, and they send him more thousands of dollars. So the kid shows up with, what was it, 4 or 5 those big boxes of equipment and so on, and really expensive tools. And he gets there, and the village is so excited, right? And the elders and everything, they get all excited and tell everybody he's fixing everybody's bikes for free. And so the first day, there's just all kinds of bikes. He said they went to the junkyard and took them out. This guy's going to fix them. And he's doing this for like a week and a half. And after doing this for a week and a half, the young lady I'm talking about, the leader there, is named Miriam. Miriam says, she rolls out this plan, okay? And it was a bike plan because the kids needed help getting to school and getting into training. This woman's always looking, how can I help these kids? And I mean, her ministry is amazing because a lot of them are Muslims, and she just pulls them right in and loves them, and it's like cool, so cool. So she needs bikes, so she's got this whole plan how she's going to get these bikes for these kids. And right there in the center, a bike repair center, and of course she had a person ready, and Anthony was training his replacement. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, God, you know how all these pieces, come together. All right, so we're working along some more, and Tukiko is, he's probably in his late 50s. He was a teacher for years, became a pastor. He plants churches. He's got a really thriving church. And he goes out to villages and presents the gospel. And I could show you some of the things he writes, and you think you're reading the New Testament. I mean, healings and all the things you hear about there, it's happening. It's happening today. And this guy's amazing. He's the director for Tanzania. So the two of us are sitting there one night, and Miriam says, she's patient. She's an amazing leader, this young lady. She's patient, so she waits for just the right time to bring things out, like the bicycle plan. And she goes, you guys don't recognize me, do you? We look at each other, and she goes, I was in the training you did in 2016. I had done training in 2016 against my will, okay? I didn't want to go there. I didn't see any promise there, but I have a guy on my team that just doesn't give up. His name's Ray. He prays, he pushes. He had done all the groundwork for Tanzania, and I said, Ray, no. Next thing I know, I'm on a plane to go do the training in 2016. And I'm training. Tukiko had found someone for me to train. He had done everything according to our manual. Nobody does it like that. He read our manual. The room was just like I wanted. You know, guys, how I always wanted it in a U? It was in a U. It was beautiful. And so I'm doing the training, and I'm training this guy, and I'm like, this school's going to fail. This guy cannot do this. And partway through the training, this young lady comes in, and boom, it's like, this is the one. This girl has leadership skills. She's good. This is who we need. And I was hoping, Tukiko get her to stay. Couldn't get her to stay, but I remember praying for her. And she remembered me praying for her. And a few years later, after she had her own ministry going 500 miles away, she contacted TEN3 because she wanted to be involved. And we didn't have enough staff. We said, can't do it, can't do it, can't do it. But she never, ever gave up. And so now she prayed us in, and here we were in 2021 on her ground doing the training at primary level. Total shift for us from 2016, and it was just so exciting to watch how God just weaved it all together. And the other thing Tukiko did, here's a wise leader. He made her secretary of TEN3 Tanzania. He just pulled her right into the leadership because he just saw the giftedness, and he knows he's not going to be around forever. And she'll be able to do things. In fact, she's got connections with the government. She had me doing work. Talk about a leader. I built a whole new system when I was out there for them. And they're starting to reuse it. She just knows how to get people to work. I'm looking at Mr. Keith because he's going to want to recruit this girl. So the amazing thing is to watch God weave. And I'm going to finish with this. And this is aimed at you young people. I was at a charismatic conference 15 years ago or so. And I missed one of the, anyways, that doesn't matter. That's a sidetrack. At this conference, and first of all, I didn't want to be at it. I mean, I just told you about Tukiko and healing and stuff, but the charismatic group still makes me a little nervous, the way they go about it and their theology and so on and so forth. I didn't really want to be there, but I was with a friend and I was kind of just a driver and it was okay. And so these leaders get up, and these are people that have seen people healed. These are people that have seen miracles. And this is what they said. They said the problem is most people don't know how many dishes we have done between the miracles. Most people don't know how many times we've swept the floor between the miracles. They don't happen that often. They're years apart. Years apart. And we do all the normal things of life like everybody else. And then every once in a while, for who knows why, God does a miracle. And we tell people, can we praise God for it? And that's just the way our God works. Maybe he knew Pavlov's law before Pavlov. If you give the dog a treat every time, they're not going to do it. Every once in a while, you give the dog a treat. And so, 40 years later, I've watched God weave my life. And I see miracles like this young man happen. But I sweep a lot of floors and I do a lot of dishes in between those times. But I guarantee you that if you'll trust the Lord and focus on him, he will guide your life. I'm done with my part. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you so much for your time.